I thought I would do a quick video. I bought myself a Zr2 Chevy Blazer with the V6 motor in it, standard. This is a vehicle that I've always wanted, and I found one, so I bought it. I do think it was a little bit overpriced, but just to get the standard transmission with the V6 motor, I paid a little extra just because I definitely wanted it. It's in half decent shape. It definitely needs some work. And so, of course, I was expecting to run into problems. And so my first problem that I've run into is that after the motor warms up, of course, this wasn't right away since I bought it. I've drove it for a while, it drove fine, and then all of a sudden it didn't. And so one of the things I noticed is that the motor was running funny and sound did funny, but only when, and this is important, only when the motor got hot. And so ran perfectly fine up until that point, and then sure enough, for whatever reason now, whenever I start it and run it, as soon as it gets hot, the motor starts to run funny. So I put a code reader onto it. I got a bunch of codes, and I asked ChatGPT what those codes meant and gave ChatGPT the diagnostics. And because the radiator had previously been changed in this, ChatGPT figures that there's a airlock in the coolant system. And so I went to fix the coolant system by taking the radiator cap off, running the motor while it's cold, and sure enough, I'm getting no flow in the radiator. So that's a problem. My hope is that it is the thermostat is stuck closed, but my fear is that it's the water pump. And the reason why I figured that it could possibly be the water pump is that I noticed some shiny looking metal substance in the coolant. So I'm going to drain the coolant, have a look to see if there's a lot of that in there. It could possibly some sort of product that the previous owner put in there. I'm not too sure. But either way, I'm going to change the thermostat, retry to run the motor, see if I can figure out if it's got an airlock in the coolant system, and then hopefully that I don't have to change the water pump. So to change the thermostat, the first thing that I'm going to do, obviously, make sure there's no pressure in the system, make sure that it's all cold. I don't want to be getting burned from hot coolant. And I've taken just a tray that I'm going to use for the coolant to go into, and I've cleaned it out just best I can. And the idea here is if there's any contaminants in this container, then I know that it's coming from the motor. Now I've already opened this, but in the bottom of the radiator on the passenger side, there's a little, if you can see it, just a little piece to unscrew to drain the radiator. And I'm gonna go and pop the radiator cap down. Hopefully that will come out slowly, and I'll try to catch it in my tray. And I just like to let it come out slowly because I've got a bunch of work before I pop the thermostat off, and then I don't get coolant all over the ground. So I start with a drip, and then I'll put the tray underneath, and then I'll open the radiator cap. There should be an airlock in there right now, so it should start coming out a little bit faster. First thing I'm going to do is remove this. So before removing this thing, I've got myself a nice clean rag. that was super easy to take off. Nice way to store the parts while we're working on it so don't lose it. Next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna remove this bracket, and it has this connector on here. Now, there's special tools for taking these off, but I find that if you just go to the bottom side of it, these things push the little tab in, turn it one way, and then push the other tab in. You can just pop them out. If you take a look, there's the tabs. No tool needed. Couldn't do this while holding the phone, but I used a flat screwdriver just to pop this plug out and move it out of the way. So I looked at it, I figure I can just leave these in there. They don't need to come out. I'm just using a 10 mil. And I'll break these. And remove them. Once I remove them, I always like to put them back and I don't lose them or forget where they are or forget that there was a bolt there at all. It may cause a little bit more work, but I find the benefits of doing that far outweighs the little bit of extra work that it does to do that. So for whatever reason, this looks like a nut, but it's actually a stud. And I think the top's on there because there's supposed to be a bracket that holds this rubber hose on here, which is missing from mine. And these definitely haven't been taken off in a moon's age because they're on there. So I'm gonna get some persuasion. So this is the persuasion that I've got. If this doesn't work, then I'll go on to this. If this doesn't work, that probably gonna have a lot of swearing and it will be not on the video. So we'll give this one a go first. And of course this stuff is flammable, so we can't use our second form of persuasion if this one doesn't work until that stuff's gone. I've let the persuasion soak in a little bit there, and now I'm going to try to remove it, and I find it a little bit too difficult with one hand, but you get the idea. So a little tip, what I like to do when it's feeling like I possibly might break the bolt, if I get any movement out of it at all after spraying penetrating lubricant on it, I just move it back and forth, and I just keep doing that until it becomes easier to loosen off. It is far easier to do this than drill out and tap a new hole for the bolt after you broke it. So I've decided to move this just because this nut is giving me some trouble, and I don't really feel like stripping it, so probably should have just done this from the start. I'd like to note that I did not strip this bolt at all. So if this bolt would have just come off easily, I would have just removed it. But because the angle wasn't exactly straight on and I had a little bit of pressure on there, I figured, well, this is probably gonna strip. Who knows? I probably would have been able to get the thing off, but a couple bolts and save yourself a lot of headache. Would you look at that? Would you look at that? Well, I tried my best to not do that, and here we are. This one came off nice. So there are a few options here, and I'm debating on what to use. I have the option of punching a center hole onto here, and then using a drill to drill it out enough to get what is called an easy out. I find that the name easy out is poorly named because it doesn't work very great. The other option is going to be drill it all the way out and use one of these tools, what are known as Healy coils. And I think I'm going to go with this method. And the third option, I do have a welder, is to put a nut on there and then weld the nut to the bolt. And I think that it will probably just break again. So I'm going to go with the Healy coil option, and possibly I might give it a try with the easy out first, but I definitely have not had a lot of luck with those, and I can't find where mine is. So off to the store to see if we can find a Healy coil that will fit this. So I bought what I call an easy out, and of course they're called a screw extractor. I found that the drill bits were so cheap in this that it didn't even drill the metal. So we're going with the Healy coil, and I've already got it somewhat drilled out, and I'll just kind of show you what I'm doing here. So you want to get it as centered as I can. And then the other thing that I'm doing is I'm only drilling it as deep as the bolt would go through with the top plate on. I'm going to try to get all of the other bolt out, and then I'll throw a couple Healy coils in here, and hopefully it will work. Fingers crossed. So I tried to take a video of me tapping out the hole. Turns out I took a picture of the tap and then held the camera for no reason. So here's the picture. I'll try to explain what I did here. I carefully hand thread the tap into the hole, trying to get it as straight as I possibly can. And then I carefully threaded it into the drilled out hole and worked my way down. So when you're doing this, just be careful. If it gets too hard to turn, then just back it off, put some more oil on it, and sort of slowly work your way forward, and then backwards and forward and backwards until you get the hole tapped all the way out. So this little tab that's on here that you can see it's meant to break off, we're going to try to put this into our now threaded hole, and I'm going to give it a little bit of oil. So what I did after putting the Healy coils in is I threaded in the new bolt that I found in the junk drawer and made sure that I was able to seat it all the way down. Healy coil. No promises, but to be honest, I actually haven't seen one of these fail. I'm sure there are people that have, so should be fine for holding on the thermostat. I gave the studs a quick wire brushing and sprayed some anti-seize on the bolts. So I rebolted this in, and of course I put the thermostat in before I did this. I never took a video of that, which I wish I did, but I didn't, so I'll just try to explain what I did there. Cleaned the surface on the top and the bottom where the thermostat goes in, and then bolted it down. And when I bolted it down, I didn't just tighten one bolt. I sort of tried to bolt it down as evenly as possible until I compressed the seal on the thermostat. We'll plug this back in. Put this bracket back on. Put this bracket back on. And now I'm just going to tighten those up. Got this put back on. This put back on. I got to tighten this up. Plug the radiator and fill it with coolant, and hopefully that fixed the problem. If it doesn't, then the next culprit for this could be the water pump. So there might be another video. So I hope you liked this video. I did fill up the radiator and I started the motor and ran it with the cap off, and sure enough, once it got warm, I could start to see the coolant flowing in the radiator, so the new thermostat is working.